This is Tell Me Something Good About Retail with Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doctor. The champion for a more human connection in retail for over 30 years as the Retail Doctor. Bob is the authority on brick-and-mortar retail across the world, who works with some of the biggest luxury brands to independent retailers of all sizes.
Hey, thanks for joining me today. My guest is Nate Woodbury, a YouTube producer, speaker, and he's the producer of over 30 YouTube channels. Welcome, Nate.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Excellent. Well, listen, I understand that your boys compete in the Ninja Warrior, and I think it was last year your 9-year-old son took second place. Am I reading that right? In the world?
Yeah, for his age category, it's pretty fun. It's part of the Ultimate Ninja Athlete Association. There's a lot of gyms all over the country a part of that, and in many other countries. There's a huge group from Australia that flew up. This competition was in Las Vegas. Next year, it's going to be in Orlando. But since my son took second place last year, he automatically qualified to go to the finals this year too. So
that's amazing at 9 years old. I mean, that's amazing. Well, listen, tell me a little bit. I guess we would consider you as a serial entrepreneur. So, what made you decide? What was your journey to get you to the YouTube ninja, as it were, Nate?
Well, I like to follow results. 13 years ago, I started my company with a web design service. We just created website templates for WordPress, and it worked. My clients were really happy. They had pretty websites, but I wasn't satisfied because they weren't getting any visitors to their website. So I then created an SEO service to get their website ranked on Google so they could get some traffic. And that service started working. We were getting websites ranked number one on Google, but there was no sales happening on the website. So we had pretty websites with traffic, but no sales. So I'm like, come on, you guys, you should know this stuff. Put a promo video or something on your website so you can sell something. So that's when I started dabbling in video. And that even helped us with our SEO service even more. To get a page ranked on Google, we had to do 30 or 40 different things, including article marketing and blog commenting and everything, just to build relevance for this page. Well, one of those things is we made a YouTube video. We would put that on the page. We would transcribe it, have the content below, turn that into an infographic, and put that on Pinterest. Just really complicated. But then one day I noticed that over on YouTube, this video was getting 50 times more views than the whole page we had ranking number one on Google. And I was kind of surprised by that. But I started experimenting more just to see if this was just a fluke or whatnot. And I started seeing it consistently. And instead of creating those 30 or 40 things to get my webpage ranking, I'm just like, I can just create a video and I'll get more traffic that way. So I really followed those results. And I started phasing out the web design and SEO services eventually completely. So that was about 10 years ago that I really just started putting this focus on YouTube. And it's been so fruitful. And I've refined it and evolved it as I've learned YouTube more and more, but it's become very powerful. I mean, to the tune of many of my clients, just from organic YouTube traffic and lead generation, many of my clients are generating 7 figures annually for their business, but some of them are 7 figures monthly just from these YouTube leads. Yeah.
Is that all kitten videos or something, or?
No, none of them are kitten videos. None of them are like the videos that typically go viral.
Right.
These are how-to videos where we just teach, we educate, we share our expertise, and it pulls people in that are searching for your expertise, and then that's what then turns into a lead. So my clients will sell packages like coaching or consulting, or they do public speaking. They have courses that they sell. Those type of things.
So if I was let's say I sell, I don't know, housewares, kind of a Williams-Sonoma-ish. I'm in a little Main Street, traffic is not so great. Um, we hear about live streaming and TikTok and all these other things. What do you think? Like, what could somebody do that might cut, move them ahead in their area using some of the techniques that you do?
The reality is when you're using a global platform, you put something out there and it's there for the whole world to see. So what I've seen some businesses do, they have a local offering in one way, but then they have a national offering in another way. I'm thinking of, there was a piano store, and he was curious about what I did, and I told him I'm a YouTube producer. He's like, "What's that?" So I kind of explained a little bit about my strategy. Well, they also have online music lessons is one thing that they do, and so that's not limited to geography. They also have a piano repair side where it's more of like an antique restoration. So there might be a $60,000 piano that somebody will ship across the country to them and repair. So
Wow.
there's probably limits to that, but I mean at least across the country. And so there's definitely ideas that you can come up with. They could teach piano repair, but no one that has a 60,000 or whatever piano is going to try and repair that on their own. So it would get traction for positioning yourself as the expert. But then when they really look into it, hey, how do I hire this company or this person to do this for me? Or how do I need to talk to this person for some consulting? That's when they'll reach out. But I've got another example. There's a guy named Chad Littlefield. He sells products. It's like kind of like a deck of cards that a lot of meeting planners use, or leaders in businesses will use as kind of like conversation starters that they'll pass out, or just to get ideas that really adds energy and just makes meetings more fun. And so he'll make videos on YouTube where he'll say, what's the best icebreaker for a business meeting? That might be the topic of his episode. So he'll answer that question and give people skills. And then he'll obviously, I've got little sticky notes here that might look like his cards. He might hold it up and say, here's an idea. Let's go with this one. So he'll actually use those cards in his videos that demonstrate them. And then, he'll have a link where people can purchase them. So there's a lot of different ways. Sometimes you've got to be creative, like that piano business is, it takes a little bit more creativity, but there's always something people are looking for online.
So the answer would be find the answers. So I'm going to stay with that housewares person because I don't have a person exactly like that, but the same idea is still there, because you think, well, what am I supposed to do? Am I just supposed to go on like, here's how to make a cake and make a video, or try to be Martha Stewart? Or would it be like, all right, we're coming into Easter. So Easter, what are problems with Easter ham, I guess? Like, so would it be something like afraid to cook Easter ham? Here's the easy way. Would it be like that? Because I think people are looking for this. Or would I do some kind of a Google search to find out problems with Easter ham? I mean, where would somebody start?
So the first question is, what goal do you want? What's the outcome that you're hoping for?
She wants to sell more glazing stuff she sells for ham, and maybe, let's say, a cooking class to do it.
Yeah. So you could go to, there's a tool called the Keyword Magic tool. It does work like magic. I didn't give it that name. The company is semrush.com. Their tool allows you to type in things like ham or glazing ham or something like that. And you can tweak a couple of the parameters saying that I only want questions. So you would be able to find what are the questions people are asking about glazing a ham. And then you just make an episode that then answers these questions. So you might find, ooh, I like these 5 right here. So that could be 5 different episodes that you make where you're teaching, whatever that is. And then, the best way really to generate a lead off of YouTube is you actually give them something else for free in exchange for their contact information.
This is
So
important, everybody, because the goal is to get them out of that ecosystem. You don't own them in YouTube or Facebook or TikTok or whatever, right? That's your first thing, Nate, is get them the hell into your ecosystem.
right. So they've never heard of you before, but they're asking this question about the ham. Now they find you and you're teaching them, you're giving them value. And then you say, hey, I've got a free gift. It's a recipe. I mean, maybe that would fit here. So you can just download it. It's a PDF printable recipe, and it's got all the shortcuts in there. Go ahead and click that link below. So when they click the link, it says, just go and enter your name and your email of the place you want to send that recipe to. And then we email them that recipe. Now we've got their email address. Sometimes you might have a gift. Let's say there's some type of a basting brush or something like that you can say, as long as you cover the shipping costs, this is my gift to you. So, let's say it's $6 that they cover for the shipping or whatever, that you send that out to them. But now you've got a lead and their address, their phone number, that they're a buyer because they're willing to pay at least a few bucks. And so if you've got something else that you want to promote to them, I mean, you continue to nurture them, give them value, email them another recipe that they might like. And then, ultimately, if you're going to sell, this is what's surprising to a lot of people. It's pretty common to sell a $10,000 or $12,000 package to somebody that finds you this way on YouTube. So let's maybe just take this example further. If you are giving consulting to other restaurants or something like that, or I don't know, but just different business owners that you can train how to do what you do, there's obviously a lot of value in that. Somebody might not pay $10,000 for a glazed ham, but they would, if you're opening up your own, restaurant to sell hams at Christmas time or whatever that might look like, that might be a package that you could sell. It's a 6-month program. We're going to help you from start to finish accomplish this goal. So,
well, I like that idea too, because you could then think of it as, I'm going to sell a series of these. Now, going back to our wonderful ham glaze, let's just say she decides the number one thing that the keyword magic tool says, most people cook it in too hot an oven and it burns the glaze. All right, so I'm going to title it, how to glaze a ham without burning it or something. Okay, great. So I get up there. Here's how you do it. After I say, make sure it's not too hot an oven, how much time do I have to fill? Is it like I have a minute? Is there a sweet spot? Is this like an hour long? Am I padding with all kinds of other stuff? Because one thing I noticed with Google is, when I do a search now, it'll bring me to a YouTube, like it'll just bring me into 72 seconds or whatever, and that's your answer. So if that's the case, then how do they see my end of it where I'm saying, join my club or buy this? Any tips on that, Nate?
Yeah, well, this specific topic is a tough one. Whenever I've seen cooking or recipe videos, they tend to be quicker. We kind of are conditioned for that. Because the answer is typically you want your episodes to be about 10 minutes long. Let me give you an example that might be related. It's food or kitchen related.
Okay.
But on the topic of how to get rid of strep throat without antibiotics. So this is something, it's kind of a home remedy.
Okay.
And if kind of the wrong way to start out that episode would just be let me demonstrate. I'd say, okay, welcome back. Today we're talking about how to get rid of strep throat without antibiotics. So let's go in the kitchen and grab some fresh garlic, some raw honey, and some cayenne pepper. And when you mix that together and take that's going to get rid of strep throat. So if I start the video that way, I've already given away the gold, and I'm not really going to have a whole lot to talk about. But the disadvantages of that is it doesn't allow any relationship building. I mean, they found me and then they leave, right? They got their answer and they have no idea who I am. They don't even know the credibility of this remedy. They don't know how, the ratios, or they don't know how often they should take it or if there's any side effects. So let me demonstrate a better example.
Take two with the master.
Yeah. Take two. All right. As we dive into this topic of how to get rid of strep throat without antibiotics, let's first discuss why we might want to consider an alternative to antibiotics. Then we're going to look at 3 ingredients you probably have these in your kitchen. So we'll talk about each one of them and how each one is a natural antibacterial and a natural antiviral. Then we'll make it. We'll talk about dosage. And I'll wrap up this video with a story about my son when he was really young. He had a high fever and he had strep throat. We used this remedy and he had a side effect that you're going to want to know about. So let's dive right in. So just
Wait,
by...
what is that side effect? Hold it. Yeah.
I mean, do you see how my goal was to create a whole bunch of curiosity about kind of a table of contents about what I'm going to be talking about in the video. And so you could see like, yeah, this is probably going to be a 10-minute episode. You know, there's an appropriate amount of stuff that we're going to be talking about that's super valuable. And I would come away like, yeah, if I watch this full 10 minutes, I should know the answer to this question inside and out. So,
which is so much better than thinking, all right, I've got a 1-minute video, I need to make it 10. In a lot of ways, you're doing kind of what we sometimes like using HubSpot, like a pillar page, or you're doing it kind of like a blog in some ways, where you have isolated it out and given us these scenes. So I think that certainly makes it better. What is your thought about using it like a trans? I can't think what they're called. The words across it, the transcriber,
the transcript, or
the other thing, teleprompter. Is it better to have a teleprompter that I'm, trying to go through and remember, okay, so I've got this and this and this, or should I just wing it and then kind of cut it together, or should I do it live? Is there any value to one or the other?
So I highly recommend just outlining your talking points, not using a script, and therefore you won't need a teleprompter. And there's no reason to do it live either. And this takes all the pressure off. So if I've got my notes in front of me and I think, oh yeah, that's the title of the video, that's all I have to remember. I look at the camera and I say, hey, welcome back. Today we're talking about blank. And I give the title of the video, maybe give them, one hook about, by the end of this video, you'll understand blank. Then I pause, look down at my notes. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about garlic. All right, look back up. All right, so, and then I talk about garlic for a minute or so, pause, look down. Oh yeah, I was going to share that side effect, let me look back up. And I'll take a step back. It takes all the pressure off of having to memorize and remember what comes next. Oftentimes we jump ahead too quickly and we forget some of the things that we wanted to say. But if we know that, yeah, I'm just going to cover this one point, I'm going to, wrap it up and put a bow on it before I move on. Then I pause, look down at my notes. It actually does several things. I mentioned it takes the pressure off during filming. It's a game changer, but it has a good cadence in the video because you're talking about one thing and you finish, and then you're talking about another thing and you finish. So it works wonders for several reasons that way. Another disadvantage to using a teleprompter is it takes a huge amount of time to write a script for a 10-minute episode. For me, if it's something I know inside and out, I talk about it all the time, then I might be able to write a script in about an hour for a 10-minute video. I'm kind of a perfectionist with words. And that's a lot of brain power. Like it's mentally exhausting. If it's a lesser, it's a topic that I don't talk about as frequently, it might take me a couple hours just to write one video script. Now
that's what stops people, right? Because you start to totally catastrophize it. Like, oh, I've got to have all this and I've got to do all that. And then you just say, well, I don't need to. And I think what you're saying is there are ways to get through it.
Yeah.
That don't feel that way.
There's a place for a teleprompter. That's when you're making a promo video. A promo video, you're taking somebody on kind of an emotional roller coaster, this journey, and you want to have your wording perfectly. You want to, practice it and rehearse this script and get it just right for the commercial, because the commercial might be 30 seconds long or 90 seconds long, right? But what we're talking about is something that when people are watching, they don't feel like they're being pitched to. You're not selling things. It's not a promotion. You want it to be more conversational. So if you need to pause for a minute, look to the side and think about the right word, and then look back at the camera and say it. That's what we do when we're having a real conversation with someone. Most of the time we're looking right at the camera. So when people are watching the video, there's this eye contact being made, and it's a real relationship builder. That's
Nice.
another reason why you want a 10-minute video versus just a quick answer like a short or a TikTok video. If they're watching you and getting advice from you and feeling like they're having a conversation with you, this happens when somebody sees you, out in public or at some event or something. They recognize you. They feel like they know you. It's pretty cool how that works.
I like that. So then would you then take that same video and you would put it into TikTok and Instagram and Facebook? It seems like you're really sold on YouTube as your number one goal here.
Well, what I'm sold on is knowing how to use a platform to get a specific result. So what we're talking about is how to use YouTube specifically to generate a lead. If you know how to use TikTok to get a specific result, then TikTok can be a great platform. I have a friend that makes 1-minute videos for Facebook that generates a lot of revenue. And the way that she generates revenue is it's a recipe video, it's food, and she gets a lot of traffic from Facebook to her blog that then she has lots of advertisements there to the tune of 7 figures. She's done really well with it. Like Twitter, complete different platform. LinkedIn, complete different platform. LinkedIn is a great place for lead generation. But if you were just to take YouTube videos and repost them on LinkedIn or take snippets of it and repost it, that doesn't work because LinkedIn is more of a text platform and LinkedIn needs a lot more interaction. There's actually community and conversation, feedback and reviews. So you basically need to know what the formula is for each platform in order to get results on it. So what we're talking about is specifically the formula for YouTube. You need to make a video that follows this format, but another platform, if video does well, you've got to make video that fits their formula.
Excellent. We are going to continue in just a minute after our break from SalesRx Online Retail Sales Training. Hey, it's Bob again. I'm not only your host, but also the founder of the SalesRx Online Retail Sales Training Program. How many sales that should have been yours walked out your front doors today? With shoppers being more discerning about where and when they shop, you need to convert more lookers to buyers. And SalesRx is the perfect solution to make training memorable. It's bite-sized, it can fit easily into your schedules. Don't tell me you don't have time to train. If you can give them time to take a break, you have time for them to train. Now, the training builds from some of the quickest ways to engage shoppers to the most advanced. Everything is planned so you can implement your sales training program with a click of a button. And there's a reason we're on 4 continents training thousands, because SalesRx is scalable. Everybody learns the same new skills that will grow your sales. In fact, 83% of users report a double-digit increase in their sales within 6 months. Wouldn't you like that to be your story? Visit SalesRx to learn more and set up a call with me to see how we can help. That's SalesRx.com. Now back to the broadcast. And we are back with Nate Woodbury. So, Nate, you have written several books. So can you tell us a little bit more about, your favorite project and what it means to you and why you did it?
Just for clarity, we'll have to edit this. So I've just written one book.
Oh, okay.
And go ahead and ask me the same question, but what do you mean by projects?
Oh, I'm just trying to get you to talk about, something that's brought you to here is basically all I'm looking for. So,
because I could talk
tell you about the book.
Or...
How about just tell me about your book? Your book. How's that?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, sure.
All right. So here we go. And we're back with Nate Woodbury. Thanks so much for joining us. And we've been talking a lot about YouTube, the video part of getting your word out. But you've written a book. What are some secrets that you discovered as you were sharing your book, Nate?
Well, yeah. So the strategy is I've been refining it. I've had this book idea for years, not making a whole lot of progress. So 2 years ago, I just came to the realization I need help. So I hired a ghostwriter. I had to go through 2 ghostwriters. The first ghostwriter, kind of afraid to admit how much I spent. I hired this guy for $40,000.
Wow.
And he helped with a couple of things. He helped me really organize the structure, kind of the flow of the book, and get all the ideas in my head into some order. But when it came down to it, he wasn't a very good writer. So I was finding myself rewriting stuff, and I'm like, this just isn't working. So I thought I was going to finish it myself, and ended up having to find another ghostwriter, and that worked really well. He could write in my voice. We could talk about ideas, and he could put it down. And I'm like, yeah, those are my words. This sounds like me. This is great.
Perfect.
So finally, a 2-year journey, got the book published. There's a lot of steps in that journey that were kind of unexpected, but now that I've done it, now I'm working on book 2 now. So
Okay, and so the whole idea of influence on YouTube. Um, do you start with the idea that I've got to kind of generate this community and I've got to really find who I am by sharing that, and then that influence leads to a sale? Because we all know those chamois, whatever the commercials, the guys like, hey, and this does this, and OxyClean and all that kind of thing, which you could be tempted to do with your store and say, oh, well, I just need to get something out. But has video changed in the 13 years since you've started? Is there a different way we're supposed to look at it and use it?
Well, I would say that there's 2 different directions that you can go. The direction that I've been talking about kind of requires me to give my own definition of influencer or influencer, because just being a celebrity, oftentimes people think, okay, they're an influencer. They've got millions of fans or something like that, and so if they promote your product or something, that they're going to influence people to buy it in that regard. For me, it's more than just celebrity status. It's actually being able to influence somebody for good, like make a difference in their lives. So, I think about Nicolene Peck. She's a parenting expert. A few years ago, my wife and I attended her 3-day event, and it really transformed the way that we parent. The way that, like one of her video titles is how to get your kids to listen without yelling, to really think that, my last resort, I'm at wit's end, kids aren't listening, I've got to yell. Now I've got other steps to get there. And so it's really just transformed the dynamic of our home. And I can look back at, wow, Nicolene really influenced my life. So when you have the ability to do that, whether it's by helping somebody have a paradigm shift, and so now they can go the right direction, they're stuck, and I can help them get them unstuck. So when we're talking about questions, people are searching for questions. That means that you have knowledge, you have experience or expertise that they are looking for, and ultimately you're going to get their information to see, like, okay, where are they? Where do they want to go? Because I can help them get there. I can really make a difference in influencing their lives. Okay, so that's one direction. I had my other train of thought. Editors are going to need to edit this out. The original question was song and dance, ShamWow. Okay, I got it.
The idea of, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So the other direction, when you're talking about a product especially, is think about the company Blend Tech. I don't know if you've heard of them. There's 2 blender companies. Like if you're going to make a green smoothie or something in a blender, there's Vitamix and there's Blend Tech. And Vitamix has been around for, I think, well over 100 years.
They're expensive, yeah.
And they're pretty expensive. So is Blend Tech. Blend Tech, though, is a brand new company, like relatively speaking. It might be a decade or 2, I don't know. But in the early days, let's say 10 years ago, they put out a series on YouTube called Will It Blend?
Oh, yeah, right.
They would, if you remember that, that's awesome. So they would put in like
a phone, crazy stuff.
Phone. Yeah, they put in an iPhone. Well, an iPhone blend, and they would make a video and show it. And those videos really took off because it has that viral characteristic. Or then they would put in some fireworks and some matches together and turn on the blender and see what would happen. So they made hundreds of these videos. That took their company completely out of obscure. They were unknown and they came out of obscurity, and now they're just as popular of a brand as Vitamix. So those are 2 really contrasting examples. It's not to say one is better than the other. It's just a different approach. It's like if I've got a product that I can do something like that with, it's fun. It's viral. It's shareable. Like, oh, look what this guy did with his phone, or look what this. It's shareable. Whereas if I have a question about something about, whether it's parenting or whether it's, how to invest in real estate with bad credit or whatever that expertise is, that's not necessarily something that's going to go viral. Here's a way of looking at it. With kind of the more viral strategy, the more entertaining type content, it's possible and necessary to get millions of views to really have an impact. If you get millions of views, which it is possible, but you've got to be more sensational. Typically, and I've quantified this. If you're talking about YouTube ad revenue, if you get 1 million views, you'll typically make $10,000. When you're making educational how-to content that leads people to your expertise, you typically only need about 100 views to make $10,000. So, drastically different type of goals there, but they work. Both of them work depending on what you're aiming for.
Yeah, and I think trying to come up with a viral video on your own in this day and age, I don't think there's much we haven't seen online, and I can only imagine it's even harder to be the first to think of something, right, Nate? Well, we're getting close to the end of our time together. I heard you speak about a month ago, and you talked about the difference between the tree theory, I think it was, or tree analogy, and the leaf strategy. Can you kind of give us an overview of that? Because I think that's really a really strong way to understand this in an easy way.
Yeah, definitely. Because I've taught keyword research for many years on picking these questions. Then I came up with this tree analogy, and that kind of got the light bulb to turn on in everyone that I was sharing it with, that it made sense. So if you picture a tree, it's got a broad trunk that goes out to branches and ultimately ends up in the leaves. The broad trunk would represent your core area of expertise, where the branches are all the different ways you could categorize it. And then the leaves represent the very specific questions that people are asking. So the point of this little symbol of a tree is we don't want to make videos on our trunk, or our branches. We want to go really, really specific out to the leaves. And it's some of the examples I've given you, how to get rid of strep throat without antibiotics. I was trying to count that there, but I messed up. It's either 8 or 9 words. That's a long, specific question. So strep throat might be the trunk of the tree, or antibiotics, or But if you really go specific, that tool that I mentioned, the Keyword Magic tool, they do have a free trial, and I believe the link that I set up for that is Hero Keyword Tool. So Hero Keyword Tool should give you a free trial that you can just go and type in. By the way, I think it's .com, herokeywordtool.com. You can just type in an idea or what the trunk or branch of your tree might be, and then you just hit the questions button, and it will tell you all of the questions. And you can even specify word count, saying only show me questions that have at least 8 words in it. That's usually where I start, is 8 words. And you'll be surprised. It will show you ideas that you would have never thought of. You actually never run out of YouTube topics using that tool. So it's great.
That's the key. And I appreciate you spending time with us today, unpacking how we can get more visibility and really target YouTube as the powerhouse that really can be for us. I ask everybody on our show, so tell me something good about retail, Nate.
We're in an age where online is dominating. I do so much online shopping, but there's just some things that you just want to have an experience and want to go to retail. And the thing that came to my mind, that comes to my mind right now, is I have the hardest time gift shopping online. Like, if trying to come up with a gift idea, but if I go to a physical store, there's just so much around me that I can see and I can feel, and I know the price right there, and it's convenient. I don't have to wait for shipping. So that's an area where I always go retail.
I love that. Well, tell us, Nate, how can we find out more about you and your services, and obviously at least one of your 30 YouTube channels?
Well, you can find me on my own YouTube channel, Nate Woodbury. You can find me on Amazon as well, or Audible. Just type in Nate Woodbury there. I was going to say something. I forgot what it was. So edit that out. I'm giving your editors a run for their money here. Should I offer my free plus shipping book?
Sure.
Or
I'll put the link in the. You can tell them. I'll put the link in the thing.
And if you actually want the free plus shipping type model that we described earlier of my book, so this is the printing cost and the shipping, but no profit to me, you can go to natesyoutubebook.com.
Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us today, my friend, and continued success.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Tell Me Something Good About Retail with Bob Phibbs, the Retail Doctor. As a listener, you can receive free information and guides when you visit retaildoc.com and sign up for our exclusive weekly newsletter. Thanks for being with us. Remember to subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you like to get your podcasts. To virtually bring Bob to all of your crew and associates, check out www.salesrx.com.